Hello everyone, welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Fastest 10 to 15 minutes. Why don't we say that? I know somebody's like, Brian, just change it to 15 to 20 minutes. But really, I got to try and get this into like 10 minutes. All right. Fastest. Looks like we're live on YouTube, so that's good to see. So here we go. It's 10:24. I'd like to be done by 20 to the top of the hour, so let's see how we go. As always, this is our dashboard, and like I said, we're still going through our developer cycle. Great to see Sjord is slowly working away on building out screeners and algo tools and stuff like that, just working away. And we're actually thinking about ditching Quandl and using a different data source because a little bit too expensive. But long and short of it here, we are in the midst of our developer cycle, and then when we get to crypto, I think we're going to see a lot of the same sort of thing there. So just continuing the theme with the crypto community, we are getting ready for the next bull cycle. We are still in mid-cycle, and I would highly suggest all of you that are sort of humming and hawing and you want to this next cycle, keep in mind Bitcoin happening next summer. We know that there's going to be some sort of rally into that. Just get everything all ready, right? Get all your money together, get all your setups together, get your risk management plan together, get all of your emotional tools, journals, logs, spreadsheets, everything all together so that when this next market hits, you just rock this thing. All right, so as always, I like to put together a little chart deck for you, just talk about what I'm seeing in the market, some ideas we're kicking around on the site today, and maybe this helps you out. We've got ECB coming up here tomorrow, and a sort of cautionary note when we get into these central bank events. We have ECB tomorrow, and we have Fed next week. It shouldn't surprise anybody to see like little FU moves against lows here. When I woke up and I saw this morning, I was like, yeah, that's par for the course. And quite often we even used to, like in prop trading days and stuff, we used to say, look at when you get around Fed announcements and, now you've got sort of back-to-back ECB and Fed, probably best just to leave these markets alone. We've been talking a while about how bad the situation in Europe is. Really, I don't see any reason why the euro can't come down and tag these A, B equals C, D objectives here. It's interesting on the British sort of political situation going on with Brexit. We were flushed out of the shorts working there. But as far as I'm concerned, had somebody actually taken this bot, I think your move stop to trailing level was hit. And it looks to me like this doji bar, kind of doji, kind of shooting star to a certain degree, probably is sort of your, get the hell out of these shorts. And you could even argue on lower time frames, you might have a little double bottom there, or double top, beg your pardon. Having said that, I don't think it's a good idea to trade heading into these big FOMC and ECB events. And I might just say, let's let the dust settle. Let's see if there's any sort of, shenanigans around these events. And then we can, look to take a trade. Moving on, I don't want to spend too much time in currencies. Stocks, we've been talking a little bit about this recently. I threw on that actual 50-day cycle kind of thinking, and you can see at these pivots, market top, looking for a market top here somewhere around the end of September. Interesting, and of course I've been talking to you about how I'm just slowly accumulating put options up in here. And I just put myself on a dollar cost averaging plan. I'm not really in a big hurry. I bought just a world of time, like March, April, May kind of options, and they're deeply out of the money. So they're not really going anywhere, just big hurry up and do nothing. But if the market does crap out, then they start performing. So I guess the point that I would just make, and I thought it was really interesting that one of our site members, Joshua, just doing some fantastic work, he found this interesting, and he's done the level 2 program. We study GAN in detail in our level 2 program, our intermediate program. And he found this really cool GAN square of 9 date reference tool, and it turns out that September 23rd, 24th is actually a really important day to Mr. Gann. So going back and looking at our cycle thesis, it doesn't surprise me that we should be looking for some big pivots around that date. What's also really interesting too about this, of course, we'll talk about this later on when we get to crypto, is we actually have a big sort of event coming up here relatively shortly in crypto land around that date as well. So be careful. I know things could get a little wonky on the other side of that. I'm enjoying this stock market rally, banging out doubles and options and all that kind of fun stuff. And I won't get into our latest winner, but nice big fat double level on a retail stock we did recently, which made me very happy yesterday. So still looking for uppy for the next week or two. Once we get on the other side of Fed and all that, then I have to start thinking about, all right, what's the other side of this cycle going to look like? On a bit of an esoteric note, Wednesdays I like to pull up my trend following models. That's like looking at charts off the weekly basis. We'll talk about crypto in a bit, but you can clearly see crypto is not very happy right now, trend following wise. But as a, actually I spent a lot of today's daily brief kind of talking a little bit about my morning routine. What do I do when I wake up in the morning? And each day of the week, I try to focus on a different sort of analysis metric. So, through the entire week, I end up looking at the entire market. Like I said, Wednesdays, I like to do a trend following review. And one of the names that jumped out at me, and I've been wanting to get in on the long side of lumber for a while. The lumber stocks, of course, lumber's a pretty big business here in Canada. And the lumber stocks pay some really juicy dividends. They're great sort of retirement plan stocks. And if this market is in the process of turning here, I'm going to be going and hunting names to accumulate there in the lumber space. And I kind of like the look of lumber here. Obviously we want to see W's on the other sides of trend lines. This just, our little trending tool, I won't pull it up, it takes too much time. But it's suggesting that lumber's trying to turn back up here. So I'm going to be keeping a real close eye on lumber. Very esoteric. And of course, I was a commodities broker. So you probably heard this before. I'm a trader. I just trade. If there's money to be made, I'm interested. I don't care what the asset is. Spent about 3 or 4 years buried in altcoins because there was money to be made there. And we did very well. I'm not that, I haven't done a hell of a lot in crypto lately because I just don't think there's a heck of a lot of money to be made there. But if the situation turns, which it potentially is right now, and a few names we'll look at in a few minutes. But long and short of it here, doing my weekly trend model analysis review. Very interested in what's going on in the lumber space right now. Keep in mind that's a weekly price chart. So something for you to chew on there. Really good example of weekly W's and what I'm hunting for in the stock market right now. Here's 3 examples. This is sort of like a before, a during, and an after weekly W's. So was really pleased to see one of our site members was very interested in the pot stock business. This PYX, they're actually a pretty big company. The only reason why I'm not too jazzed about this is they're carrying a ton of debt. But they have announced recently they're taking steps and measures to reduce that debt. But nonetheless, really interesting anecdote where you can actually see the weekly W trying to come in as we speak here. Actually, whoops, did the wrong one. Let's go there. So you can see the weekly what am I? Oh, because I have to do it like this. I'm sorry. Line. There we go. So you can see I'm watching this thing with bated breath, and you can see last time it weekly W'd. Woohoo! Right. So I'm watching really, really closely on this one. And the cool part about this is I think the breakout level is $16 on the nose, and gee whiz, look at today's high, $15.99. So it's just like literally sitting there. I might just go pick up a few shares here just because I love my weekly W's so much. So, there's one that's potentially forming. This one just came in, and of course, it's jumped up, and now it's moving away. But another just fantastic example of weekly W's. Beautiful breakout here on CenturyLink. And hopefully you can see, 50% rules. I think there's still some money to be made here. I don't think it's a good idea to chase up here. You're going to have to wait for pullbacks if you want to be a buyer. But I definitely like $16, $17 a share here on this. And, FYI, I'm long these calls. So looking good there. And then here is one that put in a weekly W a while ago. And on this breakout, I just went and grabbed, I think a board lot, maybe a couple board lots. And you can see how it's just performing here. And I think I don't know whether I talked about it in the free videos here. But, on the site, in fact, actually the Duke here with me, he pointed out that there's a nice little continuation bot trade, 1, 2, 3, higher lows, etc. So feeling pretty good about this trade. And hopefully you can see the weekly W there. So, really good analogy of hunting for those weekly W's and what often happens. You got before, during, and after. Really cool. Moving on. Talk, of course, a little bit of crypto here today. The sad thing is with crypto, and I think, the Bitcoin volumes actually basically highlight this, is I think that the market, and I've added on here Litecoin and Ethereum. I mean, you can see the W's. Keep in mind, this is off of a daily price chart. You can see the W's trying to come in here. And, traders got to trade. Is that a risk that's worth taking? It's not a terrible idea. But just sort of same thing as Bitcoin. The volumes themselves are just very suspicious. And so, this is kind of like, the setup is there. Is this a pound the table, mortgage the farm? This thing absolutely is going to go up. Of course, Brian's never going to do that anyway. I would be sort of like, man, this is like maybe a 4 out of 10. Just because the volume just is, it's just so disappointingly low here. And we were sort of going through the rags, daily routine, pulling up sort of news and stuff. And, there's a bunch of sort of fundamental catalysts that are coming down the pike. I don't happen to have the Ethereum news here, but I did hear that one of their sort of lead developers has jumped ship and moving to a different platform. So that might be one reason why it's a bit soft here. Also saw a lot of people talking about things like Litecoin. We're just potentially rolling over to bear here off of the trend following. That's probably not a good sign. And sort of wishy-washy sort of talk. The irony of it all is you just don't know what the hell's going to happen in this world. Nobody does. The price momentum breakouts were there, but again, where the hell's that damn volume? There's just such a lack of buying interest in this space right now, which is a little dangerous. And sort of speaking to lack of buying interest, even though we're trying to put bottoms in, did notice that people were talking about this BACT event coming up. I mean, geez, we've been talking about this for like a year now. So I did see that the SEC said today they're still very skeptical about ETFs and all that kind of talk. So who knows how this is going to play out. But I did find it fascinating that this date, I don't know whether, I told you Joshua said that he's a bit concerned. Oh, where did I put that image away? Oh, here. That we have this GAN date coming up here, and the sort of consensus is be careful on the other side of this date, and gee whiz, this is going to sort of line up with this. Is this a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of scenario? Now, if we're really lucky, maybe Bitcoin actually dumps, hits my 8,500 target level for that. I think I had those. Where did I have those? Sort of like this kind of talk. We hit that level. It's a sell the rumor, and then it turns out it's a buy the news. But that's asking a bit. If anything, what I want to see is I want to see price dump here ahead of this event, and then maybe we can start thinking that. The only problem here is, of course, do you have sort of the wind at your back or the wind at your face right now? Binance, right? This is not a wind at your back. This is a wind at your face kind of event. So we got to get through all this, and how does the market sort of act on the other side of this? Is this kind of activity, sort of related to why we're just not seeing the volumes come in on things like Litecoin and Ethereum? Those little bottoms that we were talking about there just a minute ago. Is this a reason why, Bitcoin just isn't catching any volume here? It could be. And usually, the ends of these moves, we always used to say in Bitcoin can never finish a move without some sort of big, horrendous event. So sometimes the big, horrendous event can be like huge blow-off tops. Quite often, the end of the event is some big, horrendous blow-off bottom. And actually, I was been thinking about this recently. This is looking awfully familiar. This is exactly what we did last year, and you notice that the market actually took all the way to the middle of November to break. Oh, man, what a headache. So hopefully you can start seeing the similarities here. Low volume, sideways, descending triangles. Low volume, sideways, descending triangles. Just be careful here, okay, everybody? I do understand that there are potentially setups working. And actually what I do like is that a lot of these setups down here, and actually these aren't really the best ones, but I guess Ethereum here is a good example, where these setups are coming in off of old breakout levels. So if this is a bull, this is where this market needs to turn, damn it. If we lose these levels and we basically, the buyers off of this breakout level cannot support price, the demand starts waning, and we're probably going to have to come back down and test these lows. Finish off today's video, another idea in the space, and for whatever it's worth, we have a gentleman on the site, Colin, from Bravado Trading. He gave us a whole bunch of names that he's sort of looking at. That KuCoin looks really interesting. Unfortunately, I can't pull that chart up on TradingView. But, here's another one that sort of caught our attention recently. Weekly W's, right? We really want to see that. And what I liked about this, kind of the same thing with Ethereum, is we've come right down to that original breakout level. And we actually put in a cute little fractal here off of the weeklies. Boom, boom, boom. And then broke above this high. So maybe if we're lucky, this is sort of another tell, kind of like that Ethereum that we came down into the original weekly W, and the demand overwhelms supply. But again, the problem that I have with this bull is, where the hell are the damn buyers? I mean, that's not really a hell of a lot of buying interest there. So, I think, we are at a potential pivot. As I've sort of said before, price action itself, if we look at price momentum oscillators, where's a good example? Fudge, now I can't find it. Anyway, price momentum oscillators are suggesting a little bit of uppy. Well, I suppose we can use this. We had things like volatility studies break out. We had, this is RSI, nice little price momentum study put in at W. OBV trying desperately to bottom here. But the one thing that's sort of lacking out of all this is follow through on those OBV volume studies. You can see it's just floundering here. If this is really a bull, just go in W already and get it done. So that's sort of the state of the market right now. As I said, I'm having a lot of fun in the stock market, and there are some great names here. I'm just waiting for this. Oh, did we finally break out here? Just waiting. Waiting's half the hardest part. And of course, our little crazy express just taking off here. So we're having lots of fun in the stock market. You can see the buying interest here. Good example. Nice W's here to hunt on stocks. Now, can we please, for the crypto community, can we please see some buyers step up and do some buying? And unfortunately, that's the state of the market with all these fundamental catalysts looming. Things like Binance, things like Backed. Is the market just sort of wait and pause, waiting for these events to get out of the way? And then hopefully on the other side of these events, we actually start seeing some buyers show up here. All right, I hope that helped. Holy Jesus, 20 minutes? Brian, way to go. Screwed up again. All right, well, anyway, everybody got some extra time there out of Brian today. I hope I gave you some value. Kind of a slow day in crypto land, so not a heck of a lot new to show you there. But really interesting action in the stock market and a couple commodities markets I'm interested in as well. All right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. All the best, and bye for now.